To the bill, HB 2379 is a reauthorization of SB 1451, the Small Cell Wireless Act. Now, when SB 1451 was enacted, one of the biggest objections was the evisceration of local control. You heard about that issue back then because our local municipalities, at least in theory, had a seat at the table, even though our local property owners did not. But even then, that bill only passed 62-41 to 5. The nays included our current Speaker of the House, Chris Welch. Not voting in present votes included Leader Ammons, DeLuca, Durkin, Lilly, Rita, Sosnowski, Walsh, and Zaleski. The no votes were bipartisan. Batnick, Brady, Butler, Carroll, Cassidy, Conroy, Ford, Freeze, Greenwood, Hernandez, Hoffman, Kifowit, Manley, Moylan, Mussman, Scherer, Schimmer, Stewart, Welter, Willis, and Yingling. The small cell wireless bill is set to sunset this year, and the sunset provisions are there so that we can learn and correct mistakes. What we should learn and correct is that this bill is not one that should be reauthorized at all. The proponents say we need to reauthorize this bill because we need 5G. You don't need to reauthorize this bill to get 5G technology. Before SB 1451 passed, the members of this body were told that we couldn't have local ordinances, that it would be a disaster, and that's why we needed this small cell statute. But then we didn't know there was going to be a comprehensive federal regulatory scheme and what it would look like. Now we do. And the states that avoided passing small cell wireless bills, Massachusetts, California. Local control has managed to work just fine under those federal regulations, and they are getting 5G technology investments. One of the key pieces of local control we took away from our municipalities was to tell our units of local government that they could not stop new poles going up all over the place. So if we didn't have the Small Cell Wireless Act, a municipality could keep control over their parkways. They could ask telecom to truly co-locate or provide proof that there was a gap in coverage if you wanted to put up a new pole. Wisconsin has a Small Cell Wireless Act. They didn't take that power away from their municipalities. Iowa has a Small Cell Wireless Act. In their statute, they specifically ensured that local authorities could require propagation maps to identify the location of the coverage and capacity gaps. Michigan not only allows more local control over this issue, but lets municipalities require a certificate of compliance with FCC issues on radio frequency emissions. Another thing this body didn't know when it passed the Small Cell Wireless Act was the real-world experience of municipalities with new pole demands. One thing I have heard from other members is that they haven't seen this issue in their district. That's because my district has been the pilot location for the entire state. My municipalities...
Representative Mazzochi, Representative Reich yields you his time.
Thank you. My municipalities have been the canary in the coal mine, and you don't want this to be coming to your districts without serious change to the Small Cell Wireless Act. You don't want to have a new 65-foot pole installed in your parkway 100 feet apart. You don't want canisters hung from an electric cable right outside your bedroom window. You don't want your residents to have no advance notice that you're going to get these things showing up on your private property just because maybe you have a water or sewer utility easement. It doesn't have to be that way, and other states have made sure it won't be that way. There's no reason why we can't too. Critically, this bill should not move without amending the co-location, right-of-way provisions, and giving our municipalities more meaningful control over the placement of small wireless facilities. Our Small Cell Wireless Act is full of thickets of confusion that seem reasonable on their face, but are unreasonable in practice. And here's some examples of why. The Act says co-location is encouraged, but we also, in later sections, take away municipalities' authority over that very issue. We tell our municipalities they may not require the placement of small wireless facilities on any pole or utility pole. We tell our municipalities they may not require minimum separation distances of any kind between these installations. So if Crown Castle and Verizon and AT&T and others want to put in a mess of poles 100 feet apart, 25 feet apart, even 5 feet apart on your block, you have no rights. Your municipality is not allowed to say no. That doesn't happen in other states. Our Midwestern neighbors are willing to give their municipalities that authority to regulate. Some of them even say you have to keep them at least 500 feet apart. Why can't we? And as for the definition of co-location, it's incredibly broad. You can install, mount, maintain, modify, operate, or replace wireless facilities on an existing pole or anywhere else adjacent to that pole. Adjacent is unlimited. That means in Illinois, you can put up a new pole anywhere you want. Again, doesn't happen in other states. Other states regulate where you can put things on co-location and requires co-location to occur on existing infrastructure and poles. I can give you a lot more examples of ways in which our statute is deficient relative to other states. To date, telecom has not come to the table to address these new issues that this body didn't know about back then, that no one could have predicted when the small cell wireless bill was enacted. They've agreed to better statutory language in other states. They've agreed to forego this type of bill in other states. There's no reason why Illinois residents should miss out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I urge a no vote.